For You ended up being kind of a strange way to start this EP and to kick off the whole Last Domino project, because for as soft and delicate of a song as it is, it was originally a raucous, high energy, punkish rock track. I wrote and demoed it in my junior year of college to fit more with the sound of the band I was in at the time, but then we broke up. So when I began working on this EP a couple years later, I still had a few demos from around the time of the old band that I had recorded in my dorm room with digitized drums. And so scouring through those, I felt like For You had the chords and the melodies that I could translate into a stripped down acoustic arrangement. I reassembled some parts and also changed most of the lyrics, which were originally more optimistic than I wanted for the mood of Romanticide. And I remember when I was first starting to plunk around with it on an acoustic, that strumming didn't really feel like the way to go. It needed to be much softer, more intimate, so that's why I ended up doing that sort of rhythmic tapping on the strings instead. I thought it was the perfect way to start the whole album, to set the tone and the vibe of everything else to come. Also, this is the only non-fictional song on Romanticide. I did write this about someone in my life, a girlfriend at the time, whom I knew was going to accomplish great things, but looking back toward the end of our relationship, I realized I was kind of holding her back due to what I would soon discover was undiagnosed depression and anxiety. But more on all that in the final thoughts entry. It is funny now to hear the whoa-oh part that I sing in the bridge, since a newer song of mine, Stop Trying to Hit Me and Hit Me, calls out artists who incorporate catchy whoa-oh breaks as a poppy gimmick. And that is why for years now, when I've played For You live, I sing something different in that section, which is actually a nod to Phantom of the Opera. And there's no real meaning behind that. It just popped into my mind and fit really well. Back to that demo version of For You, I am currently revamping it a bit for an upcoming single release, and I might put it on the next full length, but I haven't quite decided yet. We'll see. But the single rendition should be coming out pretty soon after I release these commentary tracks.
Slow you down. We both know whose ship is sinking and whose is forward and bound. You got a lot to do on your own, and I've made my peace. So go ahead without me, honey, till your anchor's been released. And I say that the future is, can't imagine, honey, the crime we all wouldn't face if the world would be so cruel and let such a grand thing go to waste. I'm sure to drown, but don't look back now. Whatever will be. But before I go down, honey, I want your star shining over me. So I say, let the future is for me. It only holds a dead end, but you are so much better than this. So I say, let the future is.
Tracks in the Snow is one of my favorite Domino songs, due in part to the fact that I heard the guitar progression in a dream. And even in the dream, it was tuned to D with the high E string lowered a half step. In fact, most of Romanticide is in D tuning because this is one of the first songs I wrote for the EP, and I just love the darker tone as opposed to standard E or even my usual E flat tuning. Lyrically, this is probably the most depressing song I've ever written. It is fictional. From here on out on the EP, all the lyrics are fictional, but they definitely convey some very dark thoughts I was having in the months leading up to the creation of The Last Domino. I re-recorded this song later for Diamond Days and Fire Nights because I felt like it fit perfectly within the storyline of that album as well, and also because I got the idea for that little sax interlude before the second verse, and I honestly thought I could do a better job with the vocal performance for maybe a more definitive version of the song. But even then, I still don't feel like I got it quite right. And yes, I am definitely my own harshest critic.
I found the ring right away, indicating you're gone and won't come back. I hope and I pray that there might be a way we could patch things. Alas, things can't change, but if that's the case, why'd you say now and forever? Now who's gonna put the spark in your eyes? And who's gonna sing songs that you like? And who's gonna light the fire in your life? Just who's taking you home tonight? Tracks in the snow, that is all that I'm leaving behind me. When I reach that field on the outskirts where we used to lay, then it's over. I drove here to stay and always remain. See your face now and forever. Now who's gonna put the spark in your eyes? And who's gonna sing the songs that you like? And who's gonna light the fire in your life? And just who's taking you home tonight? Lord, take me home tonight. I'd shift the car out in neutral. I'd even pull out the key. I'd take the hose out the window. If you would only come back to me. Would only come back to me. If you would only come back to me.
The Way It Goes is the second song on the EP to implement a lost at sea metaphor, and it would not be the last Domino song, last Domino song to do that, since my first full length begins with a song called Washed Ashore. And I didn't mean to go all out on that theme. I guess subconsciously I felt stuck in some murky waters for a long time, and that was just the best analogy for it. This also wouldn't be my last reference to the story of Job, because I hint at it at the tail end of my song Guardian Angel as well. This song never really stood out to me over the years, but listening back to it now, I'm very proud of my lyrical work in this, especially seeing as how I was just starting to come into my own as a lyricist. Even back then, I knew I wanted to craft stories with vivid visuals and metaphors that hadn't been done to death, and not using the same cliche rhymes we've all heard a million times. And I did not mean for that to rhyme just now. Yay, irony.
Time is the sea upon which we all row, taunting us with every chime. It's all I can do now to keep things afloat, assuming I live through the night. I got the call and I raced right to you, ignoring the nurse's debate. Burst through the door numbered 142 to find I'm a minute too late. Well, I know it sounds trite, but it's all that my mind right now truly knows. Never got to say goodbye, I just look you in the eye and say I love you so. But that's just the way it goes. Church on the hazy ride home, a story held fresh in my mind. God took away all he could from poor Job, and presumed what he did was divine. Well, I know it sounds trite, but it's all that my mind right now truly knows. Never got to say goodbye, I just look you in the eye and say I love you so. But that's just the way it goes. So I force self-control at the wake. Friends assure me that it's all okay. They can't even fathom the pain since you've gone away. So I renounce my beliefs and my faith. I replace sacred with the profane. My mind's never going to change, 'cause you've gone away. You've gone away. You've gone away. On which we all row, and my oars are ready to fall. It's all I can do now to keep things afloat, but time makes a fool of us all.
Adventures in Whiskeytown is kind of funny because the music of Ryan Adams was a huge influence on this EP at the time, and yet I didn't know he had been in a band called Whiskeytown until a friend of mine asked if this song was an homage to that band. So serendipity strikes. In retrospect, I wish that I'd gone full stereo with the drums and electric guitars at the bridge section. I remember at the time wanting it all centered, but I don't remember why. Maybe I thought that it might be too jarring of a sound change on an album that's predominantly vocals and acoustic, but then maybe that's exactly what it needed to change things up a little bit. Oh well. I do remember telling the producer, my friend JS, that I wanted that whole part to sound like a bar fight taking place in hell. So he tied a frying pan to a metal baseball bat, hung them from the ceiling rafters, and then had me hit them with a snow shovel. And then that big clattering noise on the final hit was JS cutting the string and letting it all crash down on the floor. Now, the crazy thing about that part is what happens afterward, right before the last verse comes in. There's this perfectly timed snapping noise, kind of like a firecracker. We had no idea what that was or where it came from. We were playing the mix back after recording all of the shovel stuff, and it was just there. I mean, it was probably just a glitch of a latent shovel hit that somehow found its way later on the track, but the fact that it happens on that exact note is wild to me, and I love it.
You're gonna lose yourself tonight. You're gonna lose yourself tonight. Your heart leads you where you're bound, so step right up and come on down, 'cause you're wanted in Whiskeytown tonight. You got a bone to pick tonight. You got an itch to scratch tonight. There's no need to expound, I never judge, won't even hound, if you just enter Whiskeytown tonight. Forget the one you left tonight. Just push her right out of your mind. Welcome to the underground, and all your wildest dreams you drown. You've just entered Whiskeytown tonight, boy. Yeah, you just entered Whiskeytown tonight. Yeah! It's gonna cost yourself tonight. Mind you not to make a sound, no one will hear you claw pound. You're not leaving Whiskeytown tonight, boy. For Whiskeytown you traded me your life.
Swan Song was another one that I wrote while I was still in college. In my senior year, I took a bunch of elective courses, including one called Pop Songwriting, which was the complete antithesis of how I had been writing in years prior. I had been making these almost avant-garde electronic punk rock meets alternative rock songs that had all manner of beats and samples and weird noises in them. And I now know that I was prioritizing uniqueness over fun. I would scrutinize every single second of a song under a microscope instead of letting go of the reins and just having fun seeing where a song could take me if I would just stop trying so hard. Needless to say, I got sick of doing that and I wanted to strip down and get back to basics, so I thought this class would be a good exercise. And for one of the assignments, I wrote what would eventually become Swan Song. It had a different title and different lyrics and subject matter then, but the arrangement was the exact same, and I still liked it enough to rework it for Romanticide as kind of a mood break. I felt that the vibe of it was, I don't know if I'd say happier, but definitely less dark than the others, and so it switched things up a bit. It's difficult for me to listen to this song now because I hear way more of my influences than my own unique voice as a songwriter. And I suppose I could chalk that up to still finding my sea legs as a song. Aha, another ocean metaphor. But yeah, I was still finding my own style. Even then, I probably could have set it apart just a little bit more. Oh, and another song I wrote for the pop songwriting class was The Heist, which almost 20 years later, I re-recorded for 2/3 of Our Lives. So it goes to show for any kind of artist that it never hurts to revisit shelved material later down the line if you have renewed interest.
Tell me yet another, humor me and stutter and shift the guilt. But you began the malice, shattered down the palace it took years to build. I've been down but I've discovered love is for the lovers, so why pretend? Why make amends if the glue won't dry? So just sing me something right, sing me something other than lies. Please sing me something right, sing me something other than lies. Oh come on, that's a given, you know that other women never took your place. You were the only one cheating, and I kept on believing your angelic face. I've been down but I've forgiven, life is here for living, not for regrets. Still happiness is a fool's paradise. So just sing me something bright, sing me something other than lies. Please sing me something bright, sing me something other than lies. Just a swan song to keep your respect when I say goodbye. Sing something beautiful, sing me something magical. Won't you please sing something beautiful, sing me something magical. Just a swan song to restore your pride. So sing me something right, sing me something other than lies. Please sing me something right, sing me something other than lies. Just sing me something right, sing me something other than lies. Just a swan song to keep your respect when I, just a swan song to keep your respect when I, just a swan song to keep your respect when I say goodbye.
One Last Thing is an immensely depressing finale to an immensely depressing EP, and I could not be prouder of it. It represents so well the cold, dark emptiness that I felt trapped in for so long. And of course, I had to make a reference to Romeo and Juliet on an album about fictional characters who die for reasons tied to love. And the Juliet part was performed magnificently by my friend Peregrine, who has this totally unique voice and style of singing and choice of notes to sing. It's just gorgeous. Now, as for the hidden track, the one I love, I basically wanted to upend everything that this EP did and kind of make the listener do a double take because of the complete left turn. I knew that this EP had more than a little bit of pretentiousness to it, and I wanted to make it known on this debut solo effort that there was also a humorous side to me, which showed that I didn't take myself as seriously as all these songs might suggest. So what better way to upset expectations than to tack on a simple, fun, jangly pop song with lyrics so cliche that the clichéness is even pointed out in the lyrics. It also felt right to me to end Romanticide this way as a metaphor for me getting better after years of depression and anxiety.
With my lips shouts its carol. The last thing I see is you. The last thing I see is you. I recline alone by the fire. For 30 years it warmed you too. From this world I retire. The last thing I see is you. The last thing I see is you. The last thing I see is you. Your knife plunged right through.
We both froze in a smile because
The last thing I saw was you. The last thing I saw was you. The last thing I saw was you.
Hang on, God, I'm fucking wearing my wallet. No wonder my ass hurts.
You'll always be the one I love. You'll always be the one I love. You'll always be the one that the stars shine brightest above. Yeah, you'll always be the one I love. And it's high time I told you that I will never see anyone as beautiful as you've always looked to me. You'll always be the one I love. You'll always be the one I love. You'll always be the one I'm sure to be dreaming of. Yeah, you'll always be the one I love. For us, I don't know what's in store. If we're just lovers or if we are meant for more. But I'll tell you one thing that's for sure. You'll always be the one. I write cliche lyrics before. Yeah, you'll always be the one I love. You'll always be the one I love. You'll always be the one when push comes down to shove. You will always be the one I love. Yeah, you'll always be the one I love.
Romanticide and The Last Domino were born from the aftermath of my diagnosis and subsequent treatment for depression and anxiety. For years, I constantly second-guessed my songwriting abilities. I was always comparing myself to others, and it seemed like no matter how excited I would get when I started to write a song, I would inevitably hate it, scrap it, and never want to write anything again because I knew it wasn't going to be as good as such and such band or such and such song. And even beyond the creative side, I knew something was wrong in my brain chemistry. None of my friends were profoundly sad when there was nothing specific to be sad about. And it seemed like I was the only one who had this absolutely crippling existential dread about my future with no ability to see any light at the end of the tunnel. So in January of 2005, I was living in Chicago and I came to a point where I was either going to do something irreparably drastic or I would check myself into a stress center as kind of a Hail Mary toward not feeling this way anymore. Thankfully, I chose the latter option and I was immediately diagnosed with severe depression and social anxiety. I had never given much credence to medication or even therapy. Falsely, I should say, believed that people who needed those things were weak. I thought of myself as an intelligent person who should be able to simply think my way out of my depression, and that is not how it works. These things are illnesses, they're chemical imbalances. At that point in time, though, I was willing to try anything, and I was very lucky that I think the second combination of meds I tried worked like a light switch. I often say that it was like I was put in a juicer where all the rinds and pulp and garbage was expunged, and what was left was this concentrated, superpowered version of myself that I never thought could exist. And I immediately got to work writing. My amazing friend Rachel gifted me my first acoustic guitar, which I still have and still record with. And for the next 5 or 6 years, I did not stop writing and recording. It was a joyous time of actually loving and being proud of my work. You know, who'da thunk it? Now, as for the title Romanticide, I know that technically it means the killing of romance, but I decided for it to mean something more along the lines of people who die for reasons tied to love, even suicide related to love, which is what most of these songs are about. Obviously dark as hell, but ironically, I wrote this at the happiest time in my life up to that point. The whole EP really was an exorcism of these thoughts and feelings I'd had for years before moving on to writing songs with more positive and whimsical subject matter. I remember meeting my friend Kirsten at a diner in Indianapolis called Perkins to discuss the artwork. She did all the photography for the album and brought to life the rough sketch of the cover art that I think I doodled on a napkin. The idea was that the word romanticide is so powerful that when written backwards on my shirt, it would break a mirror. I wanted to leave any deeper meaning of that up to interpretation. I didn't have a specific reason for that visual. It's just how I envisioned it. I guess I may as well mention why I chose the name The Last Domino. It's taken from a song by Genesis from their Invisible Touch album, which was the first album I ever owned. My parents got the cassette for me for Christmas one year. And when I was thinking about a name for this project, I remember how enamored I was as a kid by this 10-minute long prog rock epic that was divided into 2 movements and then divided even further into all kinds of stylistic and lyrical motifs. I liked that I gravitated toward really moody, interesting, substantive stuff as a kid. In the song, though, the domino metaphor is pessimistic. There's a lyric that goes, "There's nothing you can do when you're the next in line, you gotta go domino." I decided to flip that around given what I had been through leading up to all this. For me, it was more like everything is crashing down around you and it's about to put you in the ground. So what do? Do you accept that there's nothing you can do, or do you push back and stand firm as the last domino that refuses to fall?